Okay, so for this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your hard drive on your laptop. The particular model is the Dell Inspiron 1405, but the way to replace a hard drive is generally the same for most laptops, unless you have a really old laptop or something like an Ultrabook. If it's just a regular notebook like this, the process is pretty much the same for every laptop. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure the system is powered off. It's not necessarily a requirement to do that, but it's always a good idea to make sure the system is completely not powered before you begin opening any part of the computer. So to get to the hard drive, you'll need to flip the laptop over to the back. And typically there's a section designated for the hard drive. You can usually see it has a small cylinder. A lot of the newer laptops, it's like a small, looks like a small disc or a bunch of discs stacked on top of each other. Similar to the cylinder, but a little more detailed. So this is where the hard drive is located. So make sure you have a small Starhead screwdriver. Yeah, you can get it at your local hardware store. Even the dollar store has them. And remove these two screws here. Once the screws are fully loosened, you'll see that they're loose, and don't worry if they don't completely come off. A lot of the times they're attached to the cover, and so they won't fully come out. But once you take them out, the cover should be loose enough to either pry with your hand or a screwdriver, and it should just come right off like that. So put that to the side. This is where the hard drive is in. Most laptops have this or some similar variation, but it's usually very similar to this. And this just slides right out, so you're gonna have to put a little bit of force and push it, and as you saw, it slid off a little bit here, and you can just pull it up, and there's the hard drive. So this is the empty space where the hard drive is at. This is where it was connected. So now let's take a look at the hard drive and remove from the caddy so we can replace it. The hard drive is connected to the caddy with 4 screws. One here, one here, one here, and one here. Depending on what model of hard drive you have, what brand of laptop you have, sometimes there are less or more screws. Typically there are 4, or at least 4. So to remove the hard drive from the caddy, just remove the 4 screws. Okay, when you remove the 4 screws, make sure to keep them in a safe location because you'll need them later. So don't lose any of them. Pretty small, so they're easy to lose. So now you have the caddy connected to the laptop. It's loose right now, so hold on to it. You've removed the screws, so the hard drive will just pop right out. So now you have your old hard drive, and you have the hard drive caddy. So you can just, discard this, put it to the side. If you repair them, maybe you can keep it and repair in the future. And now we'll work with this and attach our new hard drive to it, and that way we can use our laptop. So here we have the new hard drive, brand new, still in the package. So this is the hard drive we're going to use in the laptop. So here it is. Pretty much same model. See one of the newer ones, same size. Make sure when you're finding a new hard drive that you make sure you decipher whether it's between an older hard drive which uses pins or a newer one like this that uses 2 slots. Otherwise, you may buy the wrong hard drive and waste your money. So now let's attach this to the caddy and get it on the laptop. It's important to remember how the hard drive came off. The old one, the circuitry was facing the caddy. The reason to remember this is because when you're putting it back, you have to make sure it lines up properly. Otherwise you could damage the caddy or the hard drive or both. So in this case, the hard drive was facing like this. And one easy way to tell is you can see that the holes will line up. If you did it incorrectly, the holes wouldn't line up, so you wouldn't even be able to screw it on. So make sure it's on correctly, it's aligned correctly. And then just put the 4 screws back on that you replaced in the caddy. It's important to notice that you should never need to force the screws in or stress it. A good way of putting screws back in to make sure that doesn't happen is to put one screw in one corner and put another screw in the opposite corner. The reason for that is it kind of spaces out the hard drive, so to speak, in case the holes are a little big, or in case there was some issue with lining up. This makes sure that there's enough space on both sides so that nothing goes wrong, nothing flexes or stresses the hard drive in any way. And hard drives are pretty sensitive, so any amount of force, if you drop it or squeeze it too hard or push it, it could possibly damage the hard drive. So you have to be careful with that. Take precautions as necessary. So now we have the new hard drive in the caddy. It's ready to be mounted back in the laptop. And now we're going to mount this back in. Process is pretty simple. It's kind of the same way you took it out. So just line it back up and remember which way is which so that you don't force anything. Usually it has some sort of indicator. In this case, it's a plastic tab that you pulled originally to pull the caddy out. So that's how you know that the caddy is going back in the right way, is because it's facing the opposite end the way it came out. So you just push it in like that. Sometimes you have to put a little bit of force into it. But like I said, you should never need to flex or force these things in any kind of way. So the caddy's back in. You'll notice that there's 2 screw holes here. That came from the lid when we took it off. And I'll show you that right now. So you have the lid that we took off earlier. Just pops back in there. And it should fit pretty snug, pretty tight. And then you just screw the lid back on the cover. And make sure they're in pretty secure, pretty tightly. Don't over screw it, don't strip the screws. That's pretty much the process of replacing your hard drive on your laptop or notebook. Swap up the old and you have the new one in here. And now you're ready to install a new operating system like Windows 7 or whatever operating system you plan on using. And that is pretty much the end of the process. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.